Hello and welcome to yet another Auto Talk lockdown live video, I guess. We're into the third week of these, although not quite through 3 weeks of lockdown yet. Though for some in Auckland, I think this afternoon we might be hearing that lockdown is going to drag on. And that does weigh on people. So our speaker today, who I'm going to bring in a moment, is here to talk about some of the key ways and responsibilities employers have for looking after and not monitoring the mental health of their staff during this kind of period. So I'd like to introduce Barry Taylor from Tailor Made Training Consulting. Thanks for joining us, Barry.
Pleasure.
So, let's start off. Is it really a employer's responsibility to take note and care for and assist in their team's mental well-being at a time like this, or in general?
Well, yes, under the WorkSafe legislation, an employer must ensure that their practices doesn't do due harm to the mental health or the well-being of their employees. But in this kind of time, it is in the best interest of the employer to ensure that their staff feel safe, secure, as much as possible in these very uncertain times, so that we can get still productivity, cohesiveness as a group of employees during a very difficult time.
So there is essentially a legal requirement that you do look after this to an extent.
That's right. Yes, we must make sure that the well-being of the employees, sort of physically and mentally, is taken into account in our practices. That we don't, that our work or our demands of our work places undue pressure or stress or distress on the person.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I guess at the moment that can be beyond the work thing. It's the whole work environment, and potentially other stresses that are on people while they're trying to work in lockdown could exacerbate existing stresses with work.
Well, certainly it is. And the biggest one, of course, is the uncertainty of this time. This is something that is unprecedented. It's something also beyond all our control. It's not like something I can do something about that will make a difference in terms of the existence of COVID-19. What we can do is make sure that I feel in control of what I can control in my environment, whether it's working from a distance or whether it's about the personal challenges within my life at that time, in this time.
So what are some key and simple steps that employers can take to monitor and help their staff?
Well, I think the first thing is that notion is that we are working in with the uncertainty, that sometimes we can't say, look, we're all going back tomorrow, because we're all waiting for an announcement from a government to say when we can do that. What we can do, though, is just kind of build that sense of camaraderie, that sense of whatever it is that, allows that sense of working together in the workplace. We try and replicate that. So having some kind of Zoom meetings as a staff, or sections within teams within a staff, just to have some discussion, not necessarily, what are we doing now, a work meeting, but more of a kind of like a tea room drop-in cafeteria type approach can be really useful. Just team leaders or bosses, just, having a phone conversation, checking in with different stuff. How are you going? What can we do to make this easier for you? And also to acknowledge what the staff are doing, in these difficult times to contribute to the productivity of the business. So just that people feel cherished and acknowledging they're working in extraordinary situations.
Is there the need for someone to literally go to every staff member and say, are you okay? Is there anything we can do for you?
Absolutely. And to recognize that, sometimes we have this kind of mythology that, people should leave their personal issues at the door of the business. Well, of course, what we're doing is we're bringing the business into people's homes, sort of thing. So it's the reverse of that. So yes, we do have a responsibility, but it's just that kind of thing about that social contact, the comradeship that people may have within the workplace is really quite important. So I need to feel that my work life is still functioning as best as possible, although we may not be doing it in the same location.
Are there any warning signs that you should be looking for with staff members that something is wrong? And what are they necessarily could they mean?
Yeah. So, for instance, if we have someone who usually is quite outgoing or proactive in their work, suddenly has become quieter, um, or people's mood has changed in a way that we feel um, just not right. The kind of thing I think of say is, if anything causes you to go, something's not right here, is trust your intuition and just follow it up. Like, just say, I've just noticed that something's gone on. I've noticed, that you're being a bit snappy in the team meetings. Is everything okay? Just to observe what's going on, and then to say, what can we do together to work through this?
Some dealers are going, well, why should I care? But I mean, there must be benefits to all this. I mean, what are the short and I guess long-term benefits of making sure your team's mental
Yeah.
well-being is well catered for during employment?
Oh, absolutely. See, the thing is, if we feel that we are valued as employees, if we feel that people are concerned about what we do and how we do it, that our contribution is adding to and that people appreciate that, then people will respond more, particularly in times of situations like this when we have to draw on people, to do a bit extra in terms of working in an environment that's much more challenging. Whereas if I feel that people don't cherish me, I'm not going to lift my game. I'm going to resent whatever people do. So it's an advantage for an organization to invest in its mental well-being of its staff. And what we show in studies is that organizations that invest in the well-being of their staff increases productivity, increases a sense of social cohesion, less sick days, and also less conflict within organizations.
Mm-hmm. If you do have concerns about a staff member, they aren't coping in this situation. I mean, what resources, what assistance is out there for both the employees and the employer? Where do you go?
Well, once again, there are such organisations as PhoneLine. There are also, of course, some of the bigger organisations may have EAP programs that they can access. But once again, just to say, ask the person is, have you got someone to talk to? Or I'm worried about that. Encourage them to go see their GP. There's now a lot of services and support available through the new primary mental health strategy that's available for people. But don't just leave it. Encourage the person to find people that they can trust and confide in and get some help, particularly now if it's moved from a stressor into a distressor or maybe even depression.
But so not necessarily trying to help them yourself, but directing them to the professionals that should provide help and then following up to make sure they've sought that help.
That's right. But also in a way that we're not judging them for that this is a difficult time. And therefore, reaching out for help isn't something that, means you're not going to perform as well, or we as an organization will think less of you because of that. A lot of people often don't want to seek help because they think it's going to affect their employment.
The employment at the automotive industry, particularly if you take it to the sales level, is definitely male leaning, male dominated.
Yeah.
Any bloke's pretty darn bad at recognizing when we're in a bad place and getting help.
Yes, absolutely. And this has been one of the biggest challenges, that what we know about it is that kind of staunch stoicism that I've got to handle this, and if I don't, then I'm weak. And one of the things is like what sort of the John Curran messages and other people have been saying to us is that a man who is able to say at the moment, I'm not, as well as I could be, isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength, because it's saying is, I can get better. I need to get better. And so therefore, men have really got to challenge that kind of thinking that's kept them so sort of staunch, that it's actually sort of become an inhibitor of actually getting help when they need it.
I'd kind of argue, and this applies to men and women, that salespeople particularly, they live their professional life to sell, to almost kind of, I would think, that dopamine hit when they can complete a sale, and they've got to do all the work at the moment, but they can't necessarily get the final.
Yeah. That's right. Yes, and it's particularly if that's where I'm getting my only sense of worthwhile or sense of self-esteem. So once again, it's saying, what is it that I'm doing well at the moment? What are the skills that I'm using that I can take, a sense of pleasure and a sense of pride in during this time? I may not get the end sale, but the fact that interaction, the way that I am able to engage with people, that's what I enjoy. That's those kind of things. It's finding those things that give me the pleasure, and also not just being focused at this time. What lockdowns do is give us a chance to, particularly as men, to look at the things about enjoyment within our family or in our personal space that sometimes we've taken for granted or not attended to as much. So, the chance of just saying, oh my God, my 10-year-old son is quite a witty sort of thing, rather than just this noisy person, is actually to enjoy those kind of things that perhaps I've undervalued because of demands of my work.
Should employers be looking at very clearly stating a different performance measurement, a different target during this time? They'll be rethinking what they're asking employees to do in the situation.
Absolutely, and not only realistic targets, but also ones that keep people motivated and inspired. So we don't want to reduce them too much, that people become bored or there's no motivation in them. But we also don't want to set them too high, that people feel I'm just going to fail and therefore I'm a failure, sort of thing. So, but looking at, well, what can we do during this time? So a lot of it could be about research and follow-up kind of work that we haven't been able to catch up with for a while. So, just building relationships with different clients. And just by checking in with their clients, it's kind of like showing you're kind of spreading the kindness through around through different sort of through your work also.
And I guess also, if we look at it completely from the other direction, employers, managers, they're under some of their biggest stress at the moment, because I know from our experience, you've got wages still to pay and so forth. Really good to make sure you're caring for yourself at the same time.
Absolutely, because if you're stressed, and then your staff will become stressed. So how do I look after myself? And also modeling it, not that we confide with the rest of our staff, but we are saying, these are the things that I'm doing to look after myself. What are the things that you can be doing to look after yourself? Sharing it in that kind of way is very useful.
Fantastic. Look, thank you so much for joining us, Barry. That's a great range of things to look at. I'll put a link to Barry's details in the bottom of this video for anyone who wants to make a contact with him. And also, I'll put a list of a few different website links and resources that are available to people that do have concerns or do want to put in place some ways to assist in their team's mental health. So thanks so very much for joining us, Barry. Thanks everyone for listening.
Pleasure.
Again, don't forget this is available as YouTube video and a podcast. Will be a little bit about all these videos we're doing in the next Auto Talk. And we will see you back tomorrow on Tuesday. The plan tomorrow is we're going to talk about what dealers can do in level 3 as much of the country returns to that slightly lifted, slightly less restricted period of trading. Thank you so much.